So friends, good evening. Thank you everyone for being here with us. This is our institution, the Gnostic Institute of Esoteric Magic. And the topic that we're going to share tonight, it is likely that you have not seen it before. This is what is Gnosis, but this is not the same conversation of what is Gnosis that maybe you have seen before for the general public. This is what is Gnosis for students who are in the intermediate and the advanced level of studies. And we are sharing this because we have to establish, and this is why we make it very clear here on the screen, we must establish a very rigorous, uncompromising standard for what constitutes authentic Gnosticism. The whole purpose of that is so that we can distinguish what is Gnosticism and what is not. It is likely that you have heard somebody else say many times before that the path is very narrow and that it is full of dangers. Maybe you have heard others say that when it comes to living this esoteric work as part of the inner work in life, dangers start lurking behind every corner. And being unable to discriminate, being unable to discern on what is Gnosticism and what is not is very important, because this helps us truncate, eliminate from our psyche these many elements of fanaticism that we all carry, because we all have them at very different degrees. And what this does for us is that it gives us the opportunity of providing what I would call disciplined protection of the mind from false, incomplete, or knowledge structures that create distortion. That thing, that protection of that knowledge is called epistemic hygiene. If we embrace that, this will help us prevent confusion, self-deception, ideological intoxication, conceptual corruption, etc., etc. I mean, I know that these are perhaps a little harsh words, but at the level of study that we find ourselves, we must have a solid foundation. And it is our responsibility on providing that information so that your foundation can also be solid. And if it is solid right now, that you can even further strengthen it. The information that we will see here today, we get it from Samael Aun Weor. And this is specifically from his book, The Secret Doctrine of Anáhuac. You will be able to find his precise words in chapter number 10. So let's go ahead and start by clarifying. There is a difference between Gnosis and Gnosticism. We all have to be able to understand what is the difference. For us, as students of the first chamber, as students of the second chamber, it is our goal to be able to achieve discernment, but discernment that comes because of clarity, not discernment that comes through opposition. If that concept of opposition is not very clear to you, I will invite you all to go and revisit Samael's lesson on comprehending objections. We have seen that particular lesson is not one that is fully understood. Everybody looks at the topic, they nod their heads and they say, yeah, I know what he means, but there is a lot there to unpack. Okay, so we wanted to be able to achieve discernment through clarity, not discernment through opposition. And for that, we're going to start by saying that when we say Gnosis, when we use this word Gnosis as a term, Gnosis is many things. Gnosis is just a lot. There's too many things behind it for us to be able to say that Gnosis is just one very specific thing. So let's take this by layers, because we know that Gnosis comes from that root gnocere, that means knowledge. But we also know that Gnosis is wisdom. And there's a difference between the two of them, because knowledge, we know that it is of an intellectual flavor. We find knowledge in books. The moment that we take that knowledge and we start adapting it, implementing it, putting it into practice, we start then delving into the space of direct knowledge. And with direct knowledge comes experiential knowledge. And that wisdom is the experiential knowledge that Gnosis gives us. But this is just at the very surface. Samael says, Gnosis is enlightened knowledge of the divine mysteries reserved, listen to this, reserved for a certain elite. But we have to understand what he is saying, because some people take this word elite as something that is empowering when it shouldn't. I mean, the thought that we have seen so many times, we cannot count them anymore, is the perception, the idea, this internal consideration that, oh, we have Gnosis, so we're special. No. We have Gnosis, we're superior, or we're better. No. We are not. Most important, just because we know of this knowledge, it does not even mean that we have a special place somewhere. It much less means that we are quote unquote saved. No, these are all ideas, considerations of our inferior aspects, and many different elements of pride that are taking in. We are not that quote unquote elite. No. We may have gotten fractions of this enlightened knowledge of these divine mysteries. We may have gotten just a fraction of an experience of that. And each one of us goes through that. I mean, if you're here listening to this, it's because that has happened to you. We go through those experiences, each one of us, at our discrete, individual, and particular level. But that's it. When Samael says reserved for a certain elite, he means those who are willing to die psychologically. Those who are willing to go through the hardships, through the efforts, through the sacrifices of eliminating their psychological aggregates. Those elite, those are people who dissolve the ego, who renounce the concepts of self-importance. This elite is defined by the death of their ego. It is not defined by affiliation. So when Samael says reserved for a certain elite, that is not somebody who's better. It is not a social club that has some privileges. No, these are all inferior creations of our different various elements of vanity and pride. So Gnosis, enlightened knowledge of the divine mysteries. And Gnosis, because of that, because it's knowledge that when applied becomes experiential knowledge, and that experiential knowledge, it starts giving you enlightened knowledge, an enlightened reveal of these divine mysteries. Well, when you start looking at that, now you can see easily why is it that Gnosis is the root wisdom of all of the world's great religions. It is, as knowledge, the fundamental knowledge that has been tailored to satisfy the needs and the idiosyncrasies of social groups in different places of the planet, at on the different corners of the world, because of their different needs. So notice how we continue to go deeper into this thing that we call Gnosis. And if you have been asked by a friend or some particular stranger at any time, what is Gnosis, and you have found yourself tongue-twisted or difficult to express it, maybe now you can see why. Because this is something that continues to grow the more you look into it. As a matter of fact, Samael says Gnosis is a natural functionalism of the consciousness. It is the operation of the consciousness free of any obstacles or any barriers from the ego. And ultimately, Gnosis is a philosophy that is perennial and universal. It is eternal. It is across the cultures, across the times, across all of the books. It is consistently the same knowledge. It is the same philosophy. To close on this thing called Gnosis, Samael states in his book, The Secret Knowledge of Anáhuac, Gnosis is revelation or disclosure, refined aspirations, conceptual synthesis, maximum achievement. This statement beautiful material to bring into a reflection. Revelation, refined aspirations, conceptual synthesis. That is Gnosis. So if we're going to take a key takeaway from this, Gnosis is not belief. Gnosis is direct experience. And our goal, your goal, our goal is achieving Gnosis, is the realization of Gnosis in each and every one of us. That means achieving, realizing self-knowledge, having experiential knowledge of all of these mysteries of direct experience of the being. We can verify these mysteries as we look within, we dissolve the ego, etc., etc., etc. From that perspective, using the word Gnostic is something that we should take very lightly. Very lightly. Because again, if we ever think we are Gnostics, so we know, or we know better, we're mistaken. We're fooling ourselves. If we say, we have Gnosis, we have the true doctrine. No, we are fooling ourselves. That is not what we should be doing with having this information. Gnosis is something, again, that must be achieved. So if we say that, then let's talk about Gnosticism. Because this is where we really get involved with this particular knowledge. Gnosticism is the system. It is the method that is dedicated to study and to self-realize Gnosis. Gnosis is that thing that must be achieved. Gnosticism is the structure, the system that makes that experience possible. And Gnosticism, being a system, is made of many different elements. It is doctrine, it is symbols, it is cosmology, it has a specific language. Language is mythical in nature. It gives you methods, means, ways in which you can transform yourself. But most importantly, Gnosis has 13 particular elements that do not change. And this we must get so that we can learn to discern by clarity, not by opposition. Let me show you what these elements of genuine Gnosticism are. Samael says, only the Gnostic doctrines that entail a series of predefined ontological, theological, and anthropological bases are part of genuine Gnosticism. Those words, kind of a word salad, but there's really not that much to unpack here to get this. Because when he says ontological, he means that the Gnostic doctrine includes elements that deal with the nature of the being. It also includes elements that deal with the study of the nature of God and God's relationship to humanity. And in terms of anthropological, it shows the relationship between the physiological and the psychological growth of the cultures and how they are impacted, affected, how they share this information so that they can effectively materialize, achieve Gnosis within themselves. Samael says these are structural criteria that are found in genuine Gnosticism. They have to speak of the being, they have to speak of God, and the nature of those God manifestations, of all of those projections that come from that absolute, and how is it that that gets adapted across the groups and the cultures. If these things do not exist, then that Gnosticism cannot yield Gnosis. If those things do not exist, what we are seeing is just a manifestation of Gnosticism in one of two different incipient stages. Now, the 13 things that you will always see in a genuine Gnostic, in genuine Gnosticism, can be combined into three particular clusters. There is information that is related to the fall of man. There is information that is related to the work that that fallen man must do. And there is information that shows about how that man can redeem himself. It is likely that you have seen these 13 elements before. When it speaks about the fall of man, that pleromatic fall, the 13 fundamental elements of Gnosticism will always mention damnation from a scientific and a philosophical point of view. It will always speak about the Adam and Eve of the Hebraic Genesis. It will always mention the original sin and the fall, being expelled from paradise, and it will always speak about the mystery of the Nawa Lucifer. Nawa, because it is a Lucifer that changes, that morphs, that presents itself in different ways. The work speaks about the death of the self, about the creative powers, the sexual mysteries. It speaks about the divine mother Kundalini. It speaks about the descent into hell. And when it comes to redemption, it always speaks about the essence of the Savior that saves, Salvador Salvandus. It speaks about the intimate Christ, the return to Eden. It speaks about the gift of Mephistopheles. If these do not make a lot of sense, let me show you briefly how is it that these elements look like when you are listening to a very seasoned instructor that is an instructor that teaches genuine Gnosticism. When it comes to the topic of damnation, that damnation that is both philosophical and scientific, they will speak in terms of the mechanical existence of man, the lack of faculties, the meaning of death. They will speak about the lack of virtue, the lack of ability, the faculties, the powers that don't exist. When it comes to the Adam and Eve, they will mention this in very different ways. They'll speak in terms of duality. They will speak in terms of polarity, the movement of forces. They will speak about the mind and the sexuality, how they relate to each other. When they speak of the original sin, the original sin is like self-evident. They will not speak about eating the fruit, but they will speak about breaking the Hermetic cup, about spilling the cup of Hermes. They will speak about identification, about falling into temptation, about conditions and circumstances, the challenges that they bring. Speaking about the Nawa Lucifer, you will hear words like initiation, ordeals, tests, temptations, difficulties, psychological training. The death of the ego, the concept of Buddhist annihilation. When it comes to the creative powers, you may have heard this one many times, sexual energy, creative waters. Those are phrases that land beautifully to address that subject. Speaking of the Salvador Salvandus, they will speak about the sense of remorse when we are doing that exercise of self-observation, the voice of silence or the voice of the consciousness, the inner longing for a change. As you see all of these, you can start seeing how is it that those structures, those stories, start coming together. Give me a second. Somebody's knocking on the door. You are too patient. Thank you for your kindness. And when it comes to the others, the sexual mysteries, the inner Christ, they'll speak of transmutation, the interior logos. They'll speak about Kundalini, the power that is superior to the mind. They'll speak about retrospection, inner observation, and the concept of descending into hell, of confronting those instances where we operated unconsciously, which is bringing from the mechanical mind into the memory of the esoteric work. The gift of Mephistopheles, the ability to regain faculties, regain abilities, powers, virtues, dominion over the elements. This is what that means. So you have seen many instructors that speak in these terms. Seasoned instructors, they will always address these 13 elements so that they're always giving you genuine Gnosticism. Because genuine Gnosticism is what can truly allow you, move you into the space of achieving Gnosis. But what happens when these elements are missing? What happens when one or two are missing, when half of them are not there? Well, we get into the space of pre-Gnostic systems. These pre-Gnostic systems, they contain some Gnostic-like elements. I mean, you will see symbols that are the same. They will speak about practices, about myths, and you will say, I've heard that. But just because something looks or sounds, quote unquote, Gnostic, it does not mean that it carries the same power to move you into the space of achieving Gnosis. Pre-Gnostic systems, they lack revolutionary, liberating core of Gnosis. So there is no method shared, nothing there for you to be able to grab and go do to achieve a direct mystical experience, to eliminate the ego, to achieve that self-realization. There's none of that there. These pre-Gnostic systems, they are, perhaps the incorrect word is notorious, but this is very common, intellectual, speculative, and they do not require inner work. You will see symbols, they will inspire you, they will give you an inner longing and aspiration, but they lack any methodology at all. And you will hear them because they will speak about you needing to awaken, that there is a divine spark within you, that you are a divine creative being, etc., etc. But that is where it stops. Pre-Gnostic systems, they can be academic studies that treat this as a historical curiosity, but there is no element of transformation. And they can also be these syncretic movements. Syncretic, that means that the movements that take things from different systems and blend them together and combine them into a new unified whole. They make something out of a mixture of things. But that's about it. So they may resemble Gnosticism, but the pre-Gnostic systems, they exist before a genuine Gnosticism. These pre-Gnostic systems, they exist, quote unquote, pre-Gnostic before Gnosis. And without the right architecture, they cannot give you any means for you to experience any transformation. So these pre-Gnostic systems, if anything, they are the elements that make up a seed. They are the sugars, they are the proteins, they are, see, all of those, they make the seed, but they are not the fruit. And they are still not the seed itself. Beyond the pre-Gnostic systems are the Proto-Gnostic systems. And the Proto-Gnostic system means the earliest, most basic, most original form of Gnosis, of a system that is of Gnosticism. These Proto-Gnostic systems, they are a good fertile ground where Gnostic principles are starting to take shape, but they have not been manifested. They contain some of those elements, but that is about it. And Proto-Gnosis, if we can say this, is to Gnosis, well, like a seed is to a tree. There is potential for Gnosis, but it is not in its full manifestation. So good examples of Proto-Gnostic systems. If you have ever read the Kybalion by the Three Masters, well, that Kybalion is a beautiful work of a Proto-Gnostic system. It shows you and it speaks about 7 principles of manifestation, and it tells you about the principle of mentalism and vibration and the principle of rhythm, and it shows you how these things work. And they move you, but they still don't tell you how to get out of this. They still don't tell you how to eliminate the defects. They still don't tell you how to transmute those creative waters. They don't tell you about how to create superior existential bodies of the being. None of that exists there. They are very valid, they are very good, but they are still Proto-Gnostic system. Works like the works of Helena Blavatsky, whether it is The Voice of the Silence, her volumes in Anthropogenesis and Cosmogenesis, they're beautiful works. Proto-Gnostic systems. They are in their earliest forms of Gnosis. And again, it's not that they are bad. It is that they are not part of a system of genuine Gnosticism that leads you to the experience of autognosis. In these systems, something will be missing. And whatever is missing from those 13 fundamental elements, I tell you, it is key to enable the inner revolution of the consciousness. So again, just because it sounds like Gnosis, it does not mean that it is conducive to Gnosis. And in the same token, we must say, Gnostic movements and Gnostic groups, they exist at all levels of development. There are groups that are very mature groups, that they embrace those 13 fundamental elements of Gnosticism, and they always deliver that. That is phenomenal. And there are other Gnostic groups that are still not operating at that level. And it is understandable, because we are all walking in a path, and we all have to go through inner transformation and inner growth to be able to see the value behind all these things and see them and be able to use them. So not, even though they may be part of a quote-unquote Gnostic group, they could be a Gnostic group that is still in a stage of pre-Gnosis, a Gnostic group that may be in a stage of Proto-Gnosis. And this is why we share this with you. So that as an intermediate, advanced level student, that when you see it, that you can discern. Because again, the path is very narrow, and the labyrinth of the mind is very treacherous. And there are many of these systems that they shine with a false splendor. And if you get distracted, you may walk out, get out of that train in some station, and maybe not come back. So let's close with what Samael says. As he is closing this particular chapter, he states, "The Gnostic who has been saved from the waters has closed the cycle of infinite bitterness. He has passed the limit that separates the ineffable realm of the pleroma from the ineffable regions of the universe. He has bravely escaped the empire of the demiurge because of having reduced the ego to cosmic dust." 13 fundamental elements that must exist in a genuine system of Gnosticism that speak of the fall, the work, and the redemption of man. If something is missing, now you know better. Let that inner voice speak. Follow the light and the guidance of your innermost. Let's go ahead, and if you choose to, we can shut down our cameras. Let's do a brief exercise of relaxation. Give ourselves an opportunity to revisit this material. 5 minutes to the end, let's open the microphones again so that we can ask any questions, get any clarification. I certainly don't have all the answers. And it is possible that you can have a comment that can educate me. And I would love that. So let's start with an exercise of relaxation. If you're sitting, allow your feet to rest comfortably on the ground. Rest your spine comfortably against the back of the chair, and let your hands rest on your thighs. Let's take a deep breath in 1, 2. 1, 2. With every exhalation, any tension, any stress that exists in the body slowly dissolves, and it leaves the physical form. 1, 2. In one of his works, Samael tells us that a practice we can use to relax the body is the practice of the gnomes. So I will invite you to bring the attention of your consciousness to the toes. And as you see your toes with the eyes of your consciousness, just visualize. Use your objective imagination and your willpower, like the Master says, combined in perfect harmony. And as you see your toes, you can see that there is an infinite amount of little gnomes that just walk out of them. And as they do, they take away any tension, any stress, any discomfort. And everywhere you look in your body, you see the same effect. So we bring that attention of the consciousness from the toes to your heels, to your ankles, your calves, your shins, your knees. And just like that, immediately start feeling that gentle vibration that comes into the physical body with a deep state of relaxation. And we receive it with gratitude. We do not identify with it. And we bring the attention of our consciousness to the underside of our legs, our thighs, our hips, our creative organs, the bottom of our spine. And we immediately perceive how that relaxation grows and occupies all of our legs. We bring the attention of our consciousness to the base of the spine. And as we allow it to rise slowly, to slowly rise, like a very gentle flame up the spine, that relaxation expands into our lower abdomen. And we feel the relaxation of our internal organs. Our stomach, our liver, our spleen, that are foundations of our astral body and our ethereal body. We feel the relaxation in our lungs, in our heart. And as that fire reaches the base of the neck, that relaxation expands out of our shoulders and it cascades into our elbows, our wrists, our hands. And it overflows out of our fingers. Give yourself an opportunity to enjoy this state. Because this is the relaxed state that we are always meant to be, in good times and in harsh times. And grateful for this moment, we allow that attention of the consciousness to continue moving upwards until the base of the skull, that space behind the head and between the ears. And if you allow yourself to, you can perceive the effect of the attention of the consciousness in this spot. So we allow that relaxation to continue expanding along the sides of our head. And we relax the muscles of our jaw, our lips, our tongue, the muscles of our face, our eyes, the muscles of our forehead. And that relaxation continues to grow until it finds itself at the crown of our head. And emerges like a flame. A light that connects us with superior dimensions, that links our consciousness directly with the human soul of our being. And together we can say, Divine Father, we're here humbly at your presence. infinitely grateful for this opportunity. Grant us the ability to comprehend the profound significance of these teachings and these mysteries. Give us clarity and an exercise of retrospection, so this knowledge becomes part of our consciousness and not part of our fleeting mind. We are infinitely grateful for your grace, and we offer you this practice. And we start our exercise of retrospection. For those of you unfamiliar with it, we will go backwards from this moment until the beginning of our session, revisiting everything that we heard, everything that we learned. We're doing a little meditation. Yes. Microphone is off. Fight. Fight. Very well. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath in. 1, 2. 1, 2. Let's come back. All right. Let's open our microphones up in case there are any questions. Yes, sir.
Pacing and your delivery. I really enjoy being part of this group, and I really enjoy the exercise and relaxation. I really felt the impact of that and how it affected me overall. Definitely will take another, listen to the recording and try to just reproduce that. I mean, I could try it on my own, but I always find re-listening to the like a guided type of activities always is very effective. At least more effective than me trying on my own until I take my training wheels off. But and then just to comment on, I think the pre studies. I guess it relates to me. In the beginning, for me, it was just going through all the labyrinth of the New Age theories. In early mid 20s, and then they sounded good. It was feel good spirituality. Love and light and all this and that. It wasn't until I found Gnosis that I thought I found something that's actual, you know, something that's actually it changed me. And so thank you for that. Great.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
I guess I don't really know how to ask it. At the beginning you said that quote about us, the people that find Gnosis are like elite. So what, like, how do we know that it's not just like another ego looking for like another type of distraction from its suffering? Because, since, or at least for me, like I'm still at the beginning stage, so on my path, like I haven't received so much. I mean, Gnosis has changed my life for sure. But it's like, how do I know that that's just not the ego looking for some form of reward? Because ultimately right now I have to achieve self-realization. So like, I don't, this path is so hard and so narrow, and there's this ultimate reward at the end. And for me, it's just so clear, like, that I want to do this. But when I tell other people about it, they don't really care. I mean, they might be a little bit interested, but then it's just like, whatever, they continue their life. And I'm just like, oh, like, how are you not just running to try to do it? Then it just makes me question, like, if I can't just, like, see the reward right there, how do I know that's not just, like, another ego trying to achieve something else?
That is a beautiful question. If I can paraphrase it, you're saying, how do we know that we are not being self-deceived? Okay. Let's work this one together. Samael consistently says that the ego is deception. It is a liar, it distracts, and it creates all kinds of obstacles. I heard you say that you have shared some of this with others. Difficult to understand. Why is it that they don't see the value? They don't show the interest. To that, we must say that not everyone has the grace of the being of having something that is called the donum Dei. The donum Dei is one of those 13 fundamental elements. It is part of the essence of the Salvador Salvandus. And the donum Dei, translated to plain English, is the gift of God. That gift does one thing in particular, and it's that it gives you the ability to perceive the knowledge and the value that is behind the teachings themselves. Whether it is this or a symbol that you may see engraved on a stone in an archaeological zone, you will be able to get something from that. It will speak to you somehow. That is that gift of God. Because not everybody has that at a high degree. I guess that we all have it. It's just have at different degrees of manifestation. Because not everybody has it at the same degree of manifestation. They cannot perceive the same things that you have already experienced. It's very difficult. This is why it is said that people don't learn by the experience of others. They have to go and make the mistakes themselves. So for you to know that it is not self-deception, I guess the biggest takeaway comes from the teaching of Samael itself, that we have to demonstrate with our actions. And we have to then let those actions be the ones that speak. Because Gnosis have gotten a lot of lip service. Many people have come and gone through it. They have felt deceived. Many of them have been betrayed by people who claim to be part of the Gnostic community. Many people have been slandered. It happens. It happens. But that is because not all the groups are at the same level. Okay? Again, some groups are Proto-Gnostic, some groups are Pre-Gnostic. So not everybody's at the same degree of maturity. And the best testament is our actions. And how do you know if you're doing well or not? Well, Samael says, things are going really well for you. That means that you're not doing too well. If things are going really harsh, that means that you're dialed in on the fat. So our daily expression and our daily experience, it says a lot about this and the expression of this. I hope that provides a little answer. Okay. All right, so we have gotten to the top of the hour. Let's go ahead and call it a day. Our gratitude for your time and your generosity of being here. We will see you next week. Like we always say, may all beings be happy.